Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett. Today's the day that I get to cut into this wood that I made, spalted green wood. And I found that I made my own culture of spalting. I spalted it myself, and today we're going to cut into it. But before we do that, I want to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed, I invite you to do that. You're going to be interested to see how this turns out. So stick around and let's get started. Now, to save some time, I've already got the wood that I spalted, the boards. I've planed them, I've jointed them, and they're already mounted. One of them's already mounted on the bandsaw, so all we need to do is start cutting. So let's go over to the bandsaw. Now I'm going to be making a 1/2-inch cut, and I'm going to speed it up. I'm only going to show you the one cut because frankly it's a bit boring, but at least you'll see what this looks like. So let's give it a whirl. So here's the spalted wood. Here's what the block, now you can see there's another one on here. I'm going to show cutting this one in a moment. But that's what the outside looked like. And you can see I'm a bit disappointed. It looks like there might have been a tiny bit of green there, and that's on the outside. But when we look inside, you know, it's okay. It's spalted, but it's not fabulous. There's the book matching. So there's something to work with there. To be honest, I was a bit disappointed. And this is what all of the boards look like. They all sort of have this white with a little bit of spalting inside. So it actually worked, but I'm unable to find any green in here. Okay, so there's the piece that I cut off, and there's sort of the book matched look of it. So there's you can see how it book matches there, but no green and just more white, which is what I expected. So I'm going to carry on and cut the rest of this out, and I have a much longer one, and when I get finished I'll show you what they all look like. Okay, so that's all the spalted wood all cut up, and I'm just going to take a moment just to go through and show you what that looks like. So there's each book matched mark, and this one's probably the nicest. There's probably the most to work with here, but you know what, even then it's not fabulous, and it's spalted enough that it's actually starting to rot there. So this one is probably the second one, and this little bit smaller one, and you can see that there's some pretty decent stuff to work with here. Now let's look at the big one. And this one, they're really very little on this one. But you know, it's still spalted all the way through, but just not very spectacular at all. And that's probably the best part of that one, and that's because that's on the edge of the wood. So, well, as we know now, my green spalting was a failure. But you know, a few weeks ago, I got an email from David, and he asked me if I've cut the green spalting of the wood that I was spalting myself. And in that email, he asked if it was really green spalting or if by chance it was actually green from copper, because copper, as it oxidizes, it turns green. And if you've got copper pipes in your home and they've oxidized around a joint, you can see a little bit of green flaking, and that's what copper does. And it was at that point that it was a little bit of an aha moment for me, because at that point I kind of wondered if he was correct. And we're going to have a real close look at this, all of us together, and I'm pretty sure David called it that this is not green spalting. I'm pretty sure what I'm working with here is in fact green from copper. So let's stop and look closely at the log that I was working with. And if you'll notice, the spalting is in this stream down here, and this is where I dug out the green as much as I could and created my own sort of culture of spalted culture. Now you can also see down here the wood is actually spalted. So there's green and there is spalting. But if you look at the very top here, see how it hasn't moved out. Typically spalting, even here you can see that it kind of moves out. It looks almost like it's something that has run down the log like this. And it hasn't gone this way, it just kind of run down. Now look at when, I'm going to show you the detail when I turn this around here. So here's why I think David called it weeks ago. First of all, this is the way the tree grew up like this, and you can see that this is a branch that was growing up like that. And it's a branch that died. But look at what's telling on this. Look at the green on the outside of this. There's green on the outside of this, what's now a dead branch. And if you turn it, you can see that if I pull this away, you can see that there's green that's kind of seeped down inside, and that's what that looks like. And look at how close it is up here. It looks almost like it ran down. See that area? How crisp those lines are there. So at this point, I'm pretty sure that this is green from copper, oxidizing copper in here. I went and I looked at copper testing kits, and they're like 35, 40 bucks. And honestly, I just didn't feel like I wanted to spend $40 on something, a piece of $1 firewood and some spalted wood that I've cut that I can still use for other things. It just doesn't have the green in it. But I'm pretty sure that somebody either had maybe some copper sulfate in the tree for some reason. Maybe it was to stop the branch from rotting. Maybe it was some copper piece of some copper wire or something that they were using around here. Maybe they tied a clothesline to it and they used copper wire around the tree or something, and some of it got caught in here. I just don't know, but I'm pretty sure that this is copper and some oxidized copper that's run down inside the tree that was dying and spalting, and that to me is pretty evident that's what that is. Well, despite the fact that my green copper spalting was a failure, you know what? This is the first time I've ever spalted my own wood, and it actually worked. I just need to get some better fungus cultures, and I'm going to carry on with this. For those of you who didn't see the beginning of this video, I'll put a link to it there so that you'll be able to see both sides of when I got the wood and how excited I was to find green spalting, or so I thought, and what I did with it. And now you've seen the results of it. So I love spalted wood. I'm going to continue to create my own, and we'll see how it turns out in the future. I'm Colin Cadet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.